supermodel with beautiful virgin hair products. The best real hair guaranteed with Pape and Camille Beauty Hair. Pape and Camille Beauty Hair Products. Special offer until this coming new year. 4-pack Brazilian Plus closure for £90. Special offer, Brazilian hair, 8 inches for £10, 10 inches for £12, 12 inches for £15. More special offers until this coming new year. Lace wig frontal, 10 inches starts from just £55. Find these and other great deals with 100% guaranteed human hair at the Pape and Camille store in Brixton. Hop into our Brixton store today or go online with free next day delivery at pchairlimited.com. With Pape and Camille, you have the freedom to be really gorgeous.
Thank you very much for joining me once again. My name is Rose Peter Graham, and this is Rose on All Sides. Sadly, we will be starting the program on a sad note today. If you've been following the news on the internet about the Ethiopian airline that crashed Sunday morning, we had an erudite professor on that flight. Of course, 2 Nigerians. May their soul rest in peace. But friends, families, and colleagues of Professor Pius Adesanmi have been throwing several tributes online. Nigeria has lost a brain. This is a fine individual, an enigma, a fine writer, a brilliant mind, just gone like that. That is him at the airport. That was in Kenya. It was in the airport in Kenya. Holding his Canadian passport, taking that photograph, and that was the last post he put on Facebook with that photograph. He was quoting Psalm 139 and telling God, my life is in your hands. And as if he knew he was going to die. You know, you could imagine. I mean, that's Pius with his daughter, Tedney. Yes. He's always talking about her on social media, how he's teaching her to how he's been teaching her to speak Yoruba, and of course that's the wife trying to explain to her, which is the most difficult part of it all. You know, trying to tell her your dad is gone. You know, I mean, the courage she had there to explain it to her. You would never see him again. It's so touching. It's so painful. You just wonder, why should we have to go through things like this as humans? For me, I just believe that the world could be a beautiful place. You know, we could all live and be happy and reach out and help one another. But, you know, when you then have to lose someone like this, someone who has touched so many lives through his write-up, is so painful. It's just so painful. I don't know what else to say. He's informed. God, it's so sad. It's so sad. May his soul rest in peace. And his friends and colleagues are meeting tomorrow in Southeast London. That's SE15 1TF 137 at Oremside Street, London. It's an evening of reminiscence in London. It's on Saturday, I beg your pardon, the 16th of March, 2019. The time is 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, if Pius had touched your life in any way, you should be there to, you know, to pay him this last respect. And of course, condolence registers been opened for him all around the world. In Nigeria, we saw the Senate President, Dr. Bukola Saraki, also signing that register. And of course, Mr. President has also sent his message. It's so sad. Like I said, his soul should rest in peace. Okay, now, so we're going to move on to something terrible, some other terrible incidents in Nigeria. The building that collapsed at Ita Faji area in Lagos Island. We have 100 persons, most of them young children who were in school. Can you just imagine that? How could we put our children through stress like this? I mean, the parents, the family. There's even a particular story about a man who couldn't pay his school fees, and he eventually had the money to pay the school fees, and then his children were killed. And I don't know why they're withholding the figures of the number of dead, you know, but they're telling us they've rescued quite a number of people. I don't know why they are holding back information. But in this jet age, we should not be having situation like this. We just shouldn't. This is a shame on Nigeria. We should have passed this. It's horrible, it's unthinkable. And we cannot keep having issues like this in Nigeria. We need to wake up. Lagos Island, most of the buildings, they are old. They need to bring them down. And how can we have children in a building like this? 100 kids. Just look at that building. It's sad. It's really sad. Okay, so we're going to move on to a friend of ours, part of the team of Rose on All Sides, is Finch of Finch Media. Celebrated his birthday on Saturday. Finch has been really selfless. He's made enormous contribution. It's his birthday, and we just want to say thank you very much. Happy birthday, Finch. God bless you and all the wonderful things you've been doing for us. We love you, like we always say. He is a selfless character. He has, when it comes to television production, this guy has like whatever equipment you could think of. And he has a large heart, and he's always willing to help us. So that is why we're doing this for him. Nice. Thank you very much. Okay then. And last week, we were honored. Uche said to me, he said, Rose, it is you, it's not we. I would say we're doing this together. So we were honored by the African business women. Yeah, the African business women for our contribution to small-scale businesses or the African businesses in the United Kingdom. So we'll say we do appreciate that. Thank you very much to the organizers, and of course, we can only do more. And now let's talk politics. You know what? Seriously, I've had it up to here. Or is it here? No. When we were watching Fragros on Channel 5 those days as children, they said it's a sin in the land of Fragros to have it up to here. No, so I'm just going to say we're having, that is an abomination to have it up to here. So I would say I've had it up to here with politics. I so want to get into other issues. And next week, as a matter of fact, I'm thinking of talking about FGM, female genital mutilation. You need to, just wait to see the firebrand women I'm bringing here. We're trying to differentiate between, I'm not going to say that, but FGM. We'll be talking about FGM next week. But you know, you cannot even talk about politics now without mentioning what is happening currently with the governor of Imo State. Actually, today we'll be reviewing the 2019 general elections. The governor of Imo State is practically, crying. His boastful attitude has been relegated to the background. All you're seeing now is a calm Okorocha. But he's still backing. He's still letting us know, if you try me, you're going to be dealt with. Why is INEC not releasing my certificate of return? INEC must be conniving with my political enemies. That is what he's saying. The interview he granted to Channels Television, that's what he said. And there's another interview of him talking to people in a relaxed atmosphere, and he's just so concerned about this, that, the returning officer, that's Professor, if I can get his name now quickly, the professor who accused him of making him announce the result under duress. Anyway, Richard Sokorocha said he was lied at. He never did that. Uche, do we have that video?
I think you must have heard that my certificate will be withheld. I know for whatever reason that somebody reported that I, Rocha Sokrocha, governor of Imo State, came and held him under duress. How? Me, come to you. Which professor? Who is the man that I will stand up from my office to go and stand before you and hold you under duress? By what means? I'm not a violent person. For those who know me, I'm a very peaceful person. Yes. That's why we have peace in Imo State. Yes. This is why there's no crisis in this land. Yes. But some people are provoking people beyond provocation. So they could have said that under duress So that means, other duress means I must have used gun, pointing on the man, or I must have held his neck, or I must have done something dangerous before him to make him do what he didn't want to do. I think this is an insult to my person. And I've asked INEC to correct this quickly and reduce the damage which we are doing. I'm not unmindful of the fact that some people who are fighting me and who have declared openly to fight me have decided that anything I do, they must come against it, including my being a senator. I'm aware of a number of people who have confidentially reported to me about their meetings, and those of them from all over the country here who are insisting that they must fight me. Let me tell every Nigerian that I fight no one, and no one should fight me. Yes. And if anyone fights me, he will be a loser at the end of it all. Yes. So I say that my INEC certificate cannot be touched and cannot be seized. Doing so is belittling democracy in Nigeria. The question the international community will ask you, did you declare this result? You say you have declared the result. And once the result is declared, it takes only a tribunal to change that result. Why is INEC holding my certificate on my petition without giving me fair hearing to present my own case if I'm found guilty in any way, to even have held my certificate, which I clearly won? How can you be under duress where SSS were present, police was there, agents were there, and even the staff of INEC from National Headquarters were all seated, and monitoring team were there, over 100 people. Then one person will come and hold you, and then that's it. It is unfortunate. And my dare say that this is the worst of election I've seen conducted in Imo State. And I want to advise the REC, particularly himself, and he's doing this without the consent of his other staff, to change his style quickly and do the right thing and make sure justice prevails. And I must dare say to you that what is happening in Imo State by those conducting our election has the capacity to create tension and confusion in the land. It's for this reason that I commend you, the youths, for still being peaceful, despite what we might assume the greatest height of provocation. I would like to, first of all, mention these few points to all of you and what I have observed personally, starting from the issue of governorship election in Imo State, which affected the AA candidates and the PDP candidates. Now, the cause of this, I have personally seen what I consider injustice. I've seen what is called unfairness in this whole exercise. And it is obvious that INEC Imo State is not guaranteeing us free and fair elections.
Okay, so that's the governor of Imo State, Rochas Okorocha, claiming that this is the election in Imo State has been the worst ever, and INEC did not, in whatever way, I'm just reiterating what he said, guarantee them free and fair election in that state. We're going to touch on particularly what happened, but let me just put this question, because I have this fine gentleman here with me. I have Mr. Femi Oke, the DG of the Nigerian Institute.
See you.
Thanks for joining me. And of course, beside him is Babasola Kuti, a political analyst and a former governorship aspirant in Lagos State.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much for joining me. Is INEC being unfair to Rochas Okorocha?
To be quite frank, I doubt if they've been unfair to him. I think when the REC officer has said that he's announcing the result under duress,
yes,
INEC had no other alternative than to quash that election. I think that some of our politicians ought to do the right thing. And I think it would be better for him not to make any comment, allow the subsequent election to happen, gain his victory, and then be triumphant. But all this now is just adding unnecessary attention to Imo, and in all likelihood, considering what happened in the governorship election, he most likely may lose. So by bringing all that attention to bear, the people who are already incensed will be further incensed. And I think that the election will be policed more thoroughly. So the chances of, the kind of things that happened where people are under duress or ballot snatching and all that kind of stuff, I think will be less prominent. But even if it were to happen, they'll just rerun it again until they have free and fair elections. So whatever he says, I think rather than determining what the outcome is, he should let the people decide.
Mr. Kuti, your opinion?
Well, I think it was obvious when the results were announced, because the rec was on record saying he was being forced to announce the results. I mean, the denial there is neither here nor there. The fact is that the rec shouldn't have declared the results in the first place. But if his life was in danger, as you saw in other cases like Akwa Ibom, where the returning officer was kidnapped, he was assaulted, nearly killed by the former governor, Godswill Akpabio, and some thugs. When you're in that position, you are allowed to announce but state that you are under duress. That essentially means that that election is null and void.
Wait a minute. What's happened? How would you characterize the 2019 general elections? I mean, what I had in mind was a review of the 2019 general election. But then when I started doing a research, I was in complete shock. I'm like, violence, a whole lot of it, and in the southern part of the country, characterized this election.
Who do you want to go first? I mean,
anyone can just take the ball. Go ahead.
Let me start by saying that this is the worst election that I personally have witnessed in the history of Nigeria. This election was everything that it shouldn't have been. I've seen bad elections. I think 2007 would be the next, worst elections. And even, it was so bad that even the president, Yar'Adua, when he was sworn in, he admitted that the process that brought him was not fair. And he promised that he will institutionalize electoral reforms. And he did that. So this election, without even mincing words, is easily the worst. And I've also been an INEC consultant, so I've witnessed elections from within. I know what goes wrong. I won't put the blame firmly at INEC's door, because the politicians themselves are the ones who manipulate the elections. People can scream blue murder as much as they like, but like I said to them, the chairman of INEC, his only job on the election day is to announce the presidential elections.
Yes.
And he doesn't announce it based on any facts. He announces it based on the numbers he's been given. His job is to total the numbers, and whatever happens, announce based on the final total. That is all. You can't say, how could you say there are 10 million people here when there are only 200,000 registered? He's not allowed to technically question. He can't change anything. That is how, So I put it firmly at the politicians, the desperation in these elections like never seen before.
Femi.
Well, I'm glad that Mr. Kuti has said that the problem is with the politicians and not with INEC. I don't know how old Kuti is, but to say that this is the worst elections in his lifetime, that may be possible. But I will tell you that you need to go back in history. We can go back to the 50s and Operation Weta in the 60s, with much, much more violence than now. 2003, serious violence.
2003 elections?
Yes, 2003 was serious violence. There have been elections where hundreds of people have died, where
that was the aftermath of the elections.
No, during the elections. So you remember, elections isn't just a single day, it's the whole period of the election. Let me finish what I'm saying. I mean, what I'm trying to say to you is the idea that this is the worst ever, I think that should be dispelled straight away, because we can factually check that and see that if it's a matter of deaths, it's a matter of all number of things. 2003 was also a fraudulent election. So what I'm trying to say is that when you think about it, I don't want to make it a political party scenario, but if we think about it, from 1999, the PDP had governance till 2015, and I don't think there was a single election that wasn't fraught with irregularities. So the idea that now we got irregularities, this is amazing, it's never happened before, it should be dispelled. Now, of course, 2015 was also rigged. I mean, on all sides. I'm not saying that any particular party didn't rig.
Sides.
Of course, even this one now, it's rigged on all sides. I mean, you go to Abia, they can tell you it was rigged. Go to Akwa Ibom, go look what's happening in Rivers, see what's happening in Taraba, go in any number of states, they can talk about problems. But as our colleague here says, it is the politicians, the do or die nature of our politics. And I think the constitution needs to change, because what you find, especially in the governorship elections, is that our governors have immunity. That immunity allows them to do whatever they like. And I believe that there must be a fundamental change in our constitution. Most democracies and federal democracies do not have immunity for the governors. This is a sort of headache from the military, because it's the military that bequeathed the constitution to us. So it suited them as military governors to have immunity, and they've dealt us immunity. So, I mean, I won't mention names, but there's what many call the militant warlord governor. That particular governor has his own retinue of army men who are, I mean, it's out there, not wearing, I mean, they're wearing uniform, but they can't be said to be real police. So you don't know who's the real policeman, who's the real army man. All that is causing chaos. So at the end of the day...
Whose fault?
The fault, as we've said, is the politicians, because you can't expect...
But see, let me explain something to you. If you're saying it's the fault of the politicians, why did the man at the ends of the affair did not arrest the situation?
And I've just said it to you, you have immunity for the governors. So if a governor has a retinue of people he employs as militant soldiers, and they wear uniform because they're in cahoots with maybe some people on the military, and they go out as if they say they're military and police, to the discerning person, a normal citizen won't know whether they're real police or not. They're going to think that they're real police. Why would you think otherwise? And you won't know whether they were the genuine federal police or whether they're warlords police. And so at the end of the day, the president cannot do anything because the constitution stops him. I would love a situation where a president would arrest such a governor and do it on the basis of national security.
What about if he declares? He can't just go ahead and declare a state.
Yes. As well. I think, while I agree that the constitution is not perfect, I think asking for governors not to have immunity is a dangerous thing in itself. I mean, we're running a country with a civilian dictator at the moment. I can say that much.
How do you work that one out?
We're running a country with a civilian who doesn't obey the rule of law, he doesn't obey court orders. So imagine if, look at what is happening in Rivers State. You know, when I say this is the worst election, I may be affiliated to the PDP, but even when I was in the PDP, I told them the truth when they were in power. There's nothing that they can tell you that I didn't tell them. I even, quarrel with the sitting president when I am in the party. The point I'm making is this. Look at what is happening in Rivers State. The APC does not even have a candidate.
Yes.
But people have been murdered. People's lives have been ruined because the APC believes that even if it doesn't have a candidate, it owes the president and the leaders of the party the duty to destroy the states. You know, this is why when people talk about imagine if Wike had no immunity today, they would have probably driven to the governor's lodge, arrested him and taken him somewhere, we don't know, and given him the Dasuki treatment till whenever.
But you see, the thing is, I don't know why you think that Nigeria should be a different democracy to any other democracy. If other countries don't have immunity for their governors, why should we be a special case? And then when a governor, we shouldn't just target Wiki now. I'm talking about any governor. It could be, I'm from Ogun State, we could be talking about Governor Amosun. Yeah. You had his movement where lots of things happened when the president was physically attacked in the stadium. Yeah. So what I'm trying to say to you is that these governors have immunity and impunity in what they're doing. Let's not talk about Wike position.
No. I think what happened there is because situations have not been handled properly where we'll have crisis where Fulani headsmen will kill Nigerians and the president will be quiet about it. So I think, wait. Well, I think so if they feel they could do similar thing and get away with it. But what I really can't understand is why the violence and why especially in the South. And then several results, just like some scholars complained, or I should say some school of thought, that some parts of the North the war-torn zones came up with higher figures than the South, which are peaceful.
So if you want me to explain that, so remember that the North has a higher population than the South in the first place. And then you see, a lot of people give this impression that the North, everywhere in the Borno state is under siege. And that isn't the case. There are numerous places where people are living freely and normally.
But for the governor of the state to go to our Aso Rock and be crying to the president,
that means no, there was a bomb blast. It was actually factual that the army in there were doing some training, whatever it was, to scare off any potential attacks. So, but what happens is the media tries to blow this up into something that is not. What I'm saying, I'm not saying there isn't any violence, but the violence is quite minor to the reality. I mean, we're not having, I mean, during the time in 2015, 2014, we had bomb blasts every day, we had kidnappings every day. We're not having that there now. The shift of all these insecurities are still there, but it's moved. You've got herdsmen, crisis and whatnot. Yeah. But remember, there's been a spate of arrests of military material by the customs, arms, so many arms.
Yes, a lot of those.
So all these things were in the wing. What I find about our military, our security architecture, which I think is quite faulty, is that it's not enough to be reactive. You need to be getting people to do these things whilst they're in the planning stage. So a lot of these governors, you know, they have DSS people protecting them. They have police people protecting them, who are also engaged in all these shenanigans. Now, all these people are supposedly federal personnel. So actually, their first duty, call of duty, should be to the Constitution. So if their governor is asking them to do something illegal, they ought to be saying, no, my allegiance is to the Constitution. I'm not going to do that. But money pays a big...
There's a video on WhatsApp that I also have, and I'm not sure we could show it. There's a military maybe military or mobile police officer. I mean, a civilian was going ahead of him. He was saying, show me your hand and whatever. And then he just took his gun and shot his leg. Someone was videoing this.
I watched that
one. What is that?
I mean, people were saying that they were speaking French, so it might have been...
No, there wasn't French. Well, usually,
exactly.
It was Nigeria. It was broken.
That
was Nigeria.
It was Nigeria.
Yeah, exactly.
But as we say, we can't say whether those... It's disturbing when we can't say whether...
No, but if the president came out with the statement...
I was just about to say that people... Look, your security forces will react and your followers will react the way you react. If Jonathan in 2015 said to party members and to the entire world that this election is not my re-election is not worth the blood of a single individual, so nobody should die on my behalf, and you saw that the transition period was such that he didn't even go to court to challenge the results. Now, if you have a leader that's coming out to say anybody who snatches ballot boxes will be shot, then you have a security force that is willing to do anything to impress that man. However, I have several videos, I'm sure you've seen some of them, with people walking away with ballot boxes. And nobody shot them.
People burning
ballot papers. They were shooting a returning officer. They were shooting a voter. They were shooting citizens.
To me, as I say,
yes.
you see, it will suit the purpose of those who want to make it look out as if it was a government-led scenario. Look, at the end of the day, the nature of our security is porous. And at the end of the day, you have 170,000 separate polling booths. You understand? The violence that we're seeing isn't everywhere in every state.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't.
So I think the blanket covering...
But there actually seems to be more.
The violence was also in areas where the APC was likely not to win.
Okay.
I mean, how is that a coincidence?
I didn't see.
Let me speak with the caller.
Look at Rivers, for instance.
Rivers is a very interesting case. And to me, I actually had predicted that there would be no violence in Rivers. I thought there would be.
I thought
so. Let's speak with Maureen.
Okay.
Sorry. Apologies. Hello, Maureen. Thanks for joining us. Let's have your contribution.
Okay. Hello, Rose.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, Maureen. Go ahead.
Hello.
We can hear you.
Yeah, I want to talk about your River State.
Yes.
Hello.
Go ahead.
When you talk about River State, we don't have to talk about them even in terms of political violence. River State has been a volatile state. Even in terms of students, in terms of militancy. So it is not policy that is making Rivers State to be a place of violence. I remember far back in the 80s, people withdrew their children from the university because of violence. So Rivers State should look into their problem of violence. So it's not policy. It's beyond policy. So you shouldn't ascribe it to maybe the leader is not taking charge. So even when Jonathan was there was violence. When Obasanjo was there was violence. So you have to, when you are discussing it, it is not a problem of this administration. It is an ongoing problem.
Okay, so, thank you very much, Maureen. Maureen, thank you for your contribution. That's good.
Let me just say that Maureen, while she is right, I can say the same thing about Lagos. I can say the same about Oshodi in Lagos.
Yes.
However, here's the thing. We're not talking about violence of one political party against the other. We're talking about militarized violence, where there are videos, not even one, not 10. There was a video of a commissioner, serving commissioner of education, whose house was invaded by soldiers, and they claimed that he was having a meeting with thugs. Unknown to them, there were CCTV in the house. So the CCTV footage we saw was of him meeting with 3 people in a room, an empty room filled with about maybe 30 or 40 chairs. But there were only 3 people there. You know, and they said, oh, they arrested the people there were thugs in the house. It is this type, and then the army will come and say, oh, it isn't our men.
Okay, I do.
But the scary thing for me, is that if the military is saying to us that there are people driving military vehicles, wearing military fatigue, going up and down, snatching ballot boxes, and that those are not their men, then we're not safe in Nigeria. They've just declared that they're incompetent.
It doesn't mean that they're incompetent. It goes back to what I talked to you about.
Okay, but I would love for us to touch on the electoral process, INEC's logistics, the infinite capacity of political parties, the presence of armed security personnel, that's what we're talking about, the violence, and if there are going to be any compensation for these lives lost, inconclusive elections, foreign observers' opinion. There are a lot of issues, but I know we're basing most of it on the violence. I mean, that just seems to be, it's completely overwhelming.
If you want to talk about the election process, I mean, Mr. Kuti has said that is the worst election ever. I mean, I still find it a strange conclusion when international observers, local observers, and alike have said that the elections were by and large free and fair. It wasn't without incident. So we can listen to them if we don't want to listen to anyone else. You've already admitted that you have a bias, just as I have a bias. But those persons who've said what I've just said are not biased, so we ought to take them on board. Now, what I'd like to say is that INEC in itself, I mean, unless we're deceiving ourselves, have done a phenomenal job in the sense that card readers are in full effect in most cases. Unless the rec officer or, some things are happening. But in general, the card reader has been full effect. We are APC. We've lost states. States like, Oyo State was lost. I think...
you lost 2 states.
We lost Oyo State.
In Southwest.
What's it? Kano State is so close, despite the fact that...
then what happened? Especially Kano State.
Let me finish what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say to you is that there's a lot of these things that show to you that the votes count now, where they didn't count before. And it doesn't mean because people voted for the president, because they love the president, that they should then vote for Gandhi.
Is the president afraid of losing Kano State?
Not at all. I think, look, the president...
Or the APC.
No, the president already lost those states.
You know, the thing for me, sorry to cut you in, the thing for me is that the president has always said, if your governor is not paying salaries and whatever, don't vote for him. You understand? He's been quite open and
having meetings with other governors about the states that are standing.
Listen, at the end of the day, you are a party person and you're the head of APC.
But you know the figures that come out from Kano State during the presidential election. I don't think the APC will want Kano State to go to the opposition.
I think no person would want the opposition to win. No one would. I mean, we lost Oyo. I'm not happy about that, but it's been lost and we acknowledge that and we moved on.
Was it Ondo?
I think on parts of Ondo because they didn't have a governorship election.
Oshu as well. You see, the truth is that the APC is on its way out. They're on their last leg. Really.
No, that's not.
I mean, nobody voted for Buhari. I can tell you that for free.
No, this is nonsense.
Before the elections, we already knew. Look, it is unforgivable that the man who supplies these card readers is a senator-elect in Niger State. It is unforgivable that the governor of Niger State and Bola Tinubu, the governor of Niger State's father, and the APC leader in Lagos, Bola Tinubu, have concerns in that same company. It is unforgivable that that company was not even on the list of INEC to get that contract. But for some reason, Zynox was deleted from, and the contract was withdrawn and given to this company just a few months after, or a month after, Bola Tinubu and Bello Stani's father bought shares into this company. It is unforgivable that the people that were in the company were former commissioners of Niger State. It's unforgivable that before the elections, our presidential candidate said on live TV that he knew that the candidates had been rigged for these elections. It's unforgivable that we have elections and there's 6 states now with inconclusive elections.
Why is that unforgivable?
All the 6 states with inconclusive elections, and there are 21 elections in total who are inconclusive. All the states with those elections are states that the PDP was destined to win.
That's not necessarily the case.
It is unforgivable that almost 1 billion people are voting in Borno when our satellite images show that not even 100,000 people came out. It's unforgivable that the same thing happened in Kaduna.
I don't know what satellite.
That 200,000 people were estimated to have come out for elections in northern Kaduna, but they have 1 million votes. We already knew long before the election. I can tell you for a fact. I'm a member of the PDP committee. We already knew long before. That's the Dubai strategy they used to abuse us.
Okay.
We knew before the election how the election would be rigged.
Were you at the Dubai strategy?
I wasn't there, but that
Onoge was there as well.
I wasn't there,
aware of that?
but he wasn't there.
He was definitely there.
No, he wasn't. And I tell you something. The truth is that these elections were the worst in the history of the country.
Okay, let me take
For
a
the
caller.
PDP.
Okay, I'm going to allow you to respond, Mr. Oke, of course, but let me take this caller, Chikudi. Thanks for joining us. Where are you calling from?
Hello.
Hello, Chikudi. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Rose.
Hi.
Please, can I make comment on this young man talking, Babalola, or what you call him, Kuti?
Shola Kuti.
Kuti, right.
Yes, go ahead.
I don't think he's informed. I have to say this. I want him to listen to what the chairman of INEC said. Can I go on?
Yes, please do.
Hello?
Carry on.
I don't think he's informed. Where on earth did you see somebody who did whatever you said, that he's the senator now and whatever, and you said Tinubu has a relationship with him, he has a share with him? What kind of information are you guys giving? From London, you give information that you don't know. You just can't, somebody who looks like you to be giving information like this. This is fake news. It's a fake news.
Let them sue me.
And it's
If
unfair because when
let
you
them
are
take,
talking,
let them take
people
me to
think
court.
you are right.
They can sue me for libel if I lie.
Looking at where you're calling, where we are
Let them sue me, Mr. Chukudi. Let them sue me for libel. If I told a lie today on TV, everybody's watching from across the world. Let Tinubu take me to court. Let Sani Bello's father take me to court. This is based on an investigation from the DSS, from the Office of National Security Advisor. It isn't just me talking off my head. And the presidential candidate has also said the same thing before the election. Why didn't they challenge him or take him to court and sue him for libel?
Okay, Mr. Chikudi, you have something else to say? Thank you very much. I think we lost him there.
Yeah. I will agree with Shola Kuti that this was the worst election for PDP. That's as a certain. This was definitely the worst election for them. They brought the worst candidate, which is Mr. Tikuluted, instead of producing someone else. And obviously it's going to be the worst for them. Now, all these allegations that he's making, I think by all means make them. But I think if you want to test whether you'll be taken up on that libel scenario, I think you should make them in Nigeria. Go and do that in Nigeria. And then maybe we'll see how long you'll last. But moving forward, I think that, as I said, INEC has done a yeoman's job. they're fighting a losing battle because the politicians are the ones that don't want this.
I think there's too much impunity in the land. Is that the case?
Yeah, there's impunity, and at the end of the day, when you are, you see, you're trying to do your job, and if the politicians are stopping you from doing the job, it's very difficult. And this is not a new scenario. It's been a continuum of this sort of situation. So it's been bad for both APC and bad for PDP. What I wanted to say was that, look, if you need to look at the results as a whole, I think the PDP, I've always said it, they've done quite well. And I think it's showing that the parties there's a viable alternative. If you go to 1999, there was no viable alternative. I mean, that was the first time. Go to 2003, there was no viable alternative. The opposition was splintered. 2007, the same. 2011, the same. It was only in 2015 that we had a viable alternative in APC. Currently, PDP are a viable alternative. And for Mr. Kuti to say that no one voted for APC, I mean, come on, with the best will in the world, you've already said that you're accused of buying votes with trader money and all this kind of stuff. You think the people that were enjoying the social intervention program, the school feeding program, all the other things, the end month, of course it's still there. It's not stopped, it's still ongoing.
When was the last time you saw the vice president?
It's an ongoing scenario. Just because it doesn't suit you and it is something that you don't like, whereas the people who are enjoying it, the people that are receiving it and it's a benefit to them, it's a great incentive for them to decide who should they, and that doesn't mean all of them voted for the president. They were not all guaranteed to vote for the president.
There were probably,
so at the end of the day,
1,000, maybe 500 people that benefited.
Look, there's millions of people that's benefiting from the school feeding program. Just because you don't want to believe it or it doesn't suit your narrative, the people that are enjoying it are enjoying it. I can take you to my state, Ogun State. I can take you to schools and say, look, this mama here. I think there's even stuff on the internet. There's stuff you can find out.
Can I just say something, Rose? And I need to say this very quickly. I like the way he says, this was a bad election for the PDP. We had a bad candidate. Okay? Because guess what? The PDP is on the verge of winning 15 states in this election. And if this happens, it means that the APC would have won 14 states in this election.
And that will be lower than what the president had.
I was just going to ask you, so how does that then translate to the victory for Buhari?
And then
because all politics is local.
No.
I've been in politics since I was 22. I am now 48.
Because then
I'm not talking about politics. There was no social media. I campaigned, walked around, put posters when I was 22 years old in university. So I understand politics. There is no way you would vote for. Are you going to say?
No, go ahead.
There's no way you would vote for a party in one election and then don't vote for them in the other election.
You see now you're not.
Let me give you another scenario that you don't see. The things you don't see. Do you know that in Lagos State, for instance, there were people driving around with card readers? They had their own card readers.
You can't.
And what they were doing, I'm making anybody. If Anya can sue me, they were driving around with card readers. I'm telling you factual because we knew how they were going to rig the elections.
You are not even in Nigeria.
I'm stating it as a matter of fact. When the man who they were asking me, the man who won the Niger East election, go and ask who he is.
Okay, let me speak with Tunde first and we'll come back to that. Okay, hello Tunde, thanks for joining us. Let's have your contribution.
No, good evening.
Good evening.
I've just connected and I found the topic very interesting. If, the gentleman in the middle stands to be very, very annoyed with the election in Nigeria. Because the child and theory that is trying to put across signifies nothing to us in London here. If he wants to assist anybody, who is the president, Tinubu, whatever, he should go to Nigeria and say it's not telling us all this or something. Anything that the APC does, it doesn't see anything bad in it or the federal government and all that. If he wants to win the election, next time is here for him. APC has won. Whatever criticism is putting across, it doesn't make any difference. Anyway, and two, the presenter appears to be supporting the other side that she should be very, very neutral to whatever they are saying there. But he's taking side with the gentleman in the middle. to me personally, not as good as they know.
Okay, I'm surprised that Femi does not agree with you. Femi doesn't agree with you, Mr.
That's his own opinion. That's his own opinion. He's entitled to his opinion.
Yes, absolutely your opinion. Because I am not supporting anyone. I'm standing on my own. And of course, you know, for people who know me, since I've been screaming and crying, it's about the love for Nigeria. Simple. You know, let us have the right leaders so we can enjoy the things we're enjoying in countries like this. You know, we cannot be here because whatever we say still have effect back home. They do watch, believe it. This is not water off a dog's back, or we're pouring water in the basket. It will definitely get back home. And this is how democracy works. We have to keep talking, and then the presidency listens. As a matter of fact, you know, since Jonathan's time, the presidency has been listening. And this president also does listen, but the issue is reacting.
Right. Can I just say, you know, we were talking about...
Or responding, that's the right word, responding.
You were just talking about the system. So I think, at this stage, I think we should move on from the blame game as who's guilty and who's not guilty. The PDP and Atiku have got the opportunity to go to tribunal and prove their case. And if you win, great. But if you don't, I hope you will accept the victory.
But let's talk about the tribunal.
So we'll get onto the tribunal, but what I wanted to say is that the electoral law that wasn't signed, I think they need to revisit it. I think it needs to be revisited. I don't like what was put forward before. And I think more stringent changes can be put in place. For example, I'm not a fan of this so-called electronic voting because I don't think that Nigeria at this stage is ready for it. Our population of literate population is quite low. There's not telephony all over the place. The card readers are shown to be failed. So even if you had a system, some people are saying it's just like going to the card machine, to a cash machine and press an option and then you vote for your candidate. How many people have actually got bank accounts in Nigeria? How many people have used a card machine? So, you know, these things show that that is not the scenario. But what they could do, just to add, is to have what they call electronic transmission of the results. Yeah. So if you are at the polling booth, the agents of the parties are there, they've agreed the figures, because where the problem is not in the actual election. I mean, ballot snatching and all that is actually less now, and that doesn't really count because they'll just cancel the votes. But what they do is when it's getting collated, taken over to the local ward or the centre, that's where the problem is. So what you can do is already, INEC has said, paste the results on the polling booth. Correct. So I would expect that all parties, and I know we did it in APC, should take pictures of that. Correct. So that acts as a backup evidence. Finally, what they could do is each agent with their biometrics could be asked to log in to the card reader to authenticate that result, and that gets sent automatically to HQ.
Well, can I just say this, that the electronic message from the polling units was part of the procedure in this election. But was it done?
It was done, but what they said, it wasn't.
They said the server was down.
No.
Again, we predicted that the server would go down.
What they said.
It's quite disheartening when people think that by virtue of me being a PDP member, then I'm coming here to give false. The elections are there. The court records will be there as well. People are going to be under oath. INEC staff will speak about their experiences. The server was down. Yeah, so at the end of the day, they knew that if that happened, they wouldn't be able to rig.
I want to include this, Mr. Oke. Apologies. Over 80 million people registered.
Yes, 84 million actually.
84 million people registered for this election.
PVCs only?
Says, yes,
no, 76 million with PVCs.
And then we had less than 30 million voted. So would we say that the turnout was good, poor, fair?
For me, it's a realism as to the number of voters. Yeah. And what I want to say to you is that, and this is what I keep saying to you, that when you say this is the worst election ever, all the other elections were padded. The figures were unbelievable figures. I don't want to start mentioning states. He's going to not be happy. But I'm just telling you that the figures were delusional. And you'll notice that over the years, those figures have been reducing to reality. The other thing that you've got to look at is that what happens is you've got a voters register that, to me, needs to be overhauled. In most countries, what you do is that in every election, there's a new electoral register. You don't use the same electoral register and say, oh, it was 70-something million, now it's 80-something. By the time the next election, it'll be 100-something. But on that register, there'll be people that have died, there'll be people that have moved, and so on and so forth. So at the end of the day, what you need to do is have a situation where a new register is happening at every election. But for all these things to happen, you need to amend the law, you understand? And even when people want to transfer themselves from one locality to another, it's so difficult for them. So when it's so difficult for them, then they're not going to vote, are they? They're voting PVC, but
let me also add this. I like what he's saying about the voters register. I've always said that here you have to kind of do a renewal to make sure that you still exist, to make sure you haven't moved. And it's very important because, you see, when I think about the sheer wastage in our elections, first thing, political parties, too many.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's one aspect of this election.
There are too many unserious political parties.
Yes.
If they were all serious, I wouldn't have a problem with it. But these people are not even running an election. So we don't need them. Number two, that costs INEC money. So our ballot sheet is now like a toilet paper, really. Or blanket. And then the second thing is also what he was saying, that there are so many, so basically INEC goes and prints 76 million for argument's sake, plus an extra 20 million ballot sheets that would never be used because those number of voters just don't exist.
You know what, we can go back and forth about this, but we just must give kudos to the INEC chairman, Professor Yakubu Mahmood, for what he's done, the postponement of the elections. We all frowned at it at first, but later on we saw that it was actually necessary. And for everything, we should just say thank God we had an election. We have a president who has said that he's going to run an inclusive government. And then, of course, did you laugh? He smiled. He doesn't believe that.
Why has never kept a promise? Why did not keep one promise? And he's not going to keep a promise. I promise you. He's not going to keep a promise. I promise you. He will not keep a promise.
And then the opposition has gone to court. And I guess they would say, or what would they say? Conspiracy theory have said that they prepared the ground, knowing that the opposition will go to court, so everything has been properly planned.
Not happy
that is one issue I'm pushing away. We'll talk about that issue maybe some other time. But there's one thing I would tell the candidate of the PDP as we end the show now. This is entirely my opinion, not the opinion of Ben Television. I think that Atiku Abubakar, His Excellency, should sue Obafemi, what's his name? Former President Olusegun Obasanjo for tarnishing his image. That is where he should actually start from before he prepares for 2023 election if he intends to vote. Anyway, if he intends to contest. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Okay, so that's our show today on Rose on All Sides. Thanks for joining us. And so, like I said, next week, hopefully, I don't want to touch politics. We're going to be talking about female genital mutilation. And thank you very much to all our contributors, our callers who called in. You made our day. And of course to Uche, Ugo, Tony, and of course Razor in Jamaica is not yet back. What are you still doing there? Come back, we miss you. Everyone, thank you very much. And of course, remember that on Saturday, friends and families of the late Pius Adesanmi will be meeting at an evening of reminiscence in London. Date the 16th of March 2019. Time is 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. It is in SE15 1TF. You find it on my wall, and of course, you're going to find it on Kayode Ogudamisi's wall. All the information you need about it.
Ladies, look good and feel on top of the world with Pape and Camille Beauty Hair. High quality, great feel, great look, great prices. Special offer until the new year. 5-pack Brazilian 10 to 20 inches plus closure, only £100. Closures 12A grade, 10 inches is £5 and 20 inches is £20. Or a 12-inch A grade frontal from 10 to 20 inches from just £25. Pop into our Brixton store today or go online with free next day delivery at pchairlimited.com. With Pape and Camille, you have the freedom to be really gorgeous.